public are just looking at it now and going, what is this? It's just an absolute nightmare. You know, where are we from day to day? It is becoming this massive pantomime.
The suffering of victims of sexual violence and the survivors was heard.
Anybody who thinks I've had a facelift are talking out the Botox. Boom, boom!
Off we go.
It's really wonderful and a privilege and special, and I can't really believe it, because when I was a child I loved that first film so much.
Delay or defeat is decision time for Theresa May, with time running out to win over 150 MPs. That's the number she needs to win tomorrow's Brexit vote and quite possibly to keep her job.
If we went ahead and held the vote tomorrow, the deal would be rejected by a significant margin. We will therefore defer the vote scheduled for tomorrow and not proceed to divide the House at this time.
We're in an extremely serious and unprecedented situation. The government has lost control of events and is in complete disarray.
Another day of Brexit humiliation for an embattled Prime Minister.
There are chaotic scenes in Parliament as tensions boil over, but the man who called the referendum says he has no regrets.
I made a promise in the election to call a referendum, and I called the referendum. Obviously, I'm very concerned about what's happening today, but I do support the Prime Minister in her efforts to try and have a close partnership with the European Union. That's the right thing to do.
Theresa May's dash around Europe to save the EU exit deal. The Prime Minister will meet with EU leaders to push for more concessions on our Brexit plan.
Locked in the back seat, but will the UK be locked in the backstop? Mrs May seeks reassurances on the Irish border and says MPs will get a vote on her deal before January the 21st.
I have never, in all those years, witnessed such an abject mess as this Prime Minister is making of these crucial Brexit negotiations.
The thing that is changing is the view of the British people.
No, it's not.
Wrong.
I know it's nearly the pantomime season, but oh yes, it has.
But should MPs leave the theatrics to the professionals?
You know, the public are just looking at it now and going, what is this? It's just an absolute nightmare. You know, where are we from day to day? It is becoming this massive pantomime, which is sad.
That's our government that's supposed to be there for everybody and doing the best, and all they're doing is fighting amongst one another.
I think we have a sense of humour as a nation, and I think sometimes it lightens the load a little bit, but I feel that the politicians now, a lot of them have actually distanced themselves from the population.
I think the foot soldiers are doing the work, whereas Parliament is a bit of a pantomime, I feel, yeah, definitely.
I think that some of them ought to stop and think before they actually open their mouths.
They're doing their own stage show, I suppose, aren't they? And they don't know what they're doing. They should come to the panto with us.
MPs have triggered that no confidence votes in the Prime Minister.
This morning, the chair of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady MP, has confirmed that the contest will take place tonight.
The Prime Minister is very keen that we should move rapidly. Clearly wants resolution as soon as possible.
I have devoted myself unsparingly to these tasks ever since I became Prime Minister, and I stand ready to finish the job.
It was not an easy letter to write. Theresa May came into Parliament in 1997 with me. We've both been MPs for 21 years. We've worked closely together.
Effectively, the Prime Minister's been drowning politically, and Angela Merkel's thrown buckets of water at her.
Theresa May should resign. The entire government should resign because it's made such a mess of Brexit.
The Prime Minister has my full support. I think some of my colleagues have either forgotten to take their meds in the last 24 hours or have totally lost leave of all of their senses. I just can't understand what people are doing and why.
What we need to do is stick with Theresa May, who has a plan.
The Prime Minister is the right person to take us forward. We need to give her our full support. I hope colleagues will. Then we can get back to delivering for the country and she can get out to Europe
bang the table for the UK.
Is that changing a Prime Minister in midstream is not going to improve anything, it will only make things worse.
This is where Mrs May's fate will be sealed this evening, Committee Room 14 in the House of Commons. She's addressing her MPs to set out exactly why she's still the best person to lead the party and the country.
When the door opened, she really had to have a space made for her to get in. She had to squeeze through because the room was just so packed. Her allies, her critics, all pressed together, listening to what she has to say in this speech that will potentially make or break her career.
The result of the ballot held this evening is that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence.
Nearly 100 majority, that's what we need.
That's a great result. That's really strengthened her position and has put in doubt and has removed the doubts about her leadership now. I just hope that the Conservative MPs who didn't support her will rally round now and will reach a collective view.
Let's hope all the MPs get behind Theresa May and let's get the deal signed and sealed, and let's work hard to get a good deal from the European Union, because I'm sure they will bend eventually.
Now she can move on and deliver a Brexit, which is what we all need.
I think we need stability, and we need to get on with the new direction for the country.
Do you think now, certainly from a party member level, you'd like to see a line drawn, we just get on with things?
That's what people are telling me. Just get on with it.
Britain's attempt to leave the European Union has been compared to Catalonia's efforts to try to secede from Spain. Well, Carles Puigdemont, the man who called and won Catalonia's referendum, which was, of course, declared illegal by Madrid.
European democracy must be improved because we expect not a clear support in our fight for independence, but a clear support, a clear commitment from the European Union institutions to our fundamental rights, which are clearly violated from a state member as Spain.
And when you see how difficult the European Union is making it for the UK to follow through on its own fully legal referendum and leave, do you see similar characteristics there from the European Union?
Yes, in some point of view, yes, of course, as pro-European people, we don't like Brexit. But it's also bad news not only for UK, but for European Union, a no deal or a not good deal. But that shows European Union is probably a very good, successful economical project, but not a political one. In a political point of view, the European Union must be improved in a very good way than these days can explain us. And we hope the both sides can be the best for achieve a good deal. It's only in our interest, in the Catalan interest, to see a European Union more committed to fundamental values, fundamental rights, and find an agreement with the United Kingdom is also not a matter of economics, but also a democratic issue, a democratic goal.
This is Dr. Denis Mukwege at his hospital and his home. It's a place of healing in a region racked with unimaginable suffering. Among his duties, treating women and children who've been raped with extreme violence, and his work in the Democratic Republic of Congo has won him the Nobel Peace Prize.
How did you feel when you heard that you had won the Nobel Prize?
Yeah, my feeling was really that the suffering of victims of sexual violence and the survivors was heard. I find that women really who came to me to seek treatment was raped with extreme violence, and I could not be indifferent. I just take the responsibility to start to treat them, and this I didn't really go to school to learn how to do it.
There was no medical degree that taught you what to do?
I think what I saw, even for the first time, myself, even if I was a medical doctor, I was so traumatized also, because it's not really something you can learn, get course to learn how to do it. Can you imagine when people can shoot in the genital of women? We have to reconstruct the vagina, to reconstruct the bladder, to reconstruct the rectum, and this kind of things. You don't have a school where you can learn it. I treat a mother. After I treat her girl and the grandchildren, should I stay in the operating room just waiting women come and be treated? I just feel that to treat the consequences was not the solution.
Do you live in fear because of the pressure that is brought upon you?
The pressure is there, of course, and you can see even in media what the fake news that they are doing each week against me and against what I'm doing. But I think that this can't stop us to talk about what is going on in this country. And we hope that one day maybe the Congolese population can take more responsibility on their own destiny.
He, for one, has taken responsibility for the hospital and the people it serves. Like this 12-year-old girl. Tina, who is deaf, was raped last year, and Dr. Mukwege cared for her during the resulting pregnancy.
To be murdered at this age, it's only terrible. How can you imagine that people can do things as they do it? She didn't give her childhood, and now already she's herself mother. We even don't understand what happened for her.
His work in Bukavu has inspired the world by serving his community with empathy and grace.
Household name. He's had 20 UK top 40 albums, and he could be striding to the Christmas #1 with his new album Walking in the Moonlight. The Irish singing superstar Daniel O'Donnell is back with his first new studio album in 2 years.
And we'll go walking in the moonlight, staying out till midnight. It's a collection of songs that I've been gathering for a number of years. A lot of original songs by Irish writers and some covers as well. I mean, down through the years I've recorded a lot of older songs, covers of hits from years gone by, which has worked well for me. But this album, The Walk in the Moonlight, is an original written by a man called Pat McLean from my own county, Donegal. And I'm very happy with it. And thanks to everybody for buying it. It's in the charts, so again they're supporting.
But they always do, don't they? I mean, let's think. Do you know how many albums you have released over the course of your
career? Well, I've recorded an album every year since 1984, sometimes 2 in a year, and since 1988 we've had an album in the charts, and that's down to the audience who follow what I do and support what I do, and you know, they're great.
I have to say, I know exactly how committed your fan base is. I used to work in a theatre back home in Scotland called the Gaiety Theatre, where you played a good few times, and I don't know that I've ever seen a response like it from an audience. The only thing I compare it to is, you know, Kids in One Direction. You know, these ladies were going wild for you, and they were throwing plenty of objects as well.
They really have been terrific. I mean, I started doing concerts here in the UK in 1987, and we have shows in May. We're in Bournemouth and Stevenage and Southport and Aberdeen in May, and then we do a tour in Ireland in August. So people are very supportive, and it's fantastic. I mean, I've been singing since 1981.
Do you ever get tired of it?
No, I enjoy it.
Is it the performing or the recording that you enjoy?
The performing.
Yeah.
I love the live show. There's nothing to compare with it, really.
And sometimes you get some famous people in the audience as well, don't you? Of course, Pope Francis.
Well, that was a great thrill for me to get the opportunity to sing in front of the Pope.
We are very honoured on Sunrise to have a living legend in the studio today, someone who's made people smile for more than 50 years. He's looking good on it. He's now getting ready for pantomime in Windsor and, crucially, supporting the Shooting Star Children's Hospice with his new charity single.
With every Christmas card I write, may your days be merry and bright.
Oh, it brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it, eh?
It does, it does. When I watched the video last night, I sort of thought I didn't realise you could sing, but then back in the day, you did a single with Cilla Black, didn't you?
Oh, yes, but then we always used to change all the words and take the mickey out of it. And you see, this was an idea by Mr. Mike Reid, the DJ, who said, why don't we do something completely different? You know, it would have been obvious to have done something like boom, boom, shake, shake the room, you know. They said, no, do something poignant, get people thinking. And on YouTube, in fact, some of the comments have been that somebody said they've got an impressionist who can sing and sound like Basil Brush, so that's quite a compliment.
Well, no one can sound quite like you, Basil.
No.
Tell us why you wanted to support the Children's Hospice.
Well, it was all instigated last year by Mr. Mike Reid when we did Panto together. He's related to the hospice, and he helps them out a lot and suggested that I do a little Christmas single. So I met them at the Dorchester with Simon Cowell. He's their president.
Oh, wow.
And after only an hour of being there and then 4 hours later, it was the most inspirational 4 hours I've ever spent with these little girls and their little boys and the families, some of whom may not still be here this Christmas. And I thought, what could I do? And a Christmas single seemed to be a very good idea. And do it quite seriously. Make people think and stand out from the crowd.
And it's doing well in the charts, isn't it? In the iTunes charts.
Well, yes, apparently I was number 15 at the weekend. I was usurped by Nick Mills from The Jungle. He went straight to number 1.
Oh.
And I'm sure Harry might get there with My Way.
Oh, you've got a lovely voice. You have got a lovely voice.
Enough push, you know, we might be there. Fox Factor versus the X Factor, you might say.
Oh, Fox Factor has to win every time.
Do you think you'll get the Christmas #1 slot then?
Well, it would be lovely, wouldn't it, if I did get the #1. I wasn't doing it for that reason. It was really to raise awareness of the charity and raise a bit of money. But if I was there on Christmas Day, oh, that would be absolutely boom, boom!
Oh, he said it. He said it.
What do you put your longevity down to, Basil? Because, I mean, you've been around since before we were born.
What, you're going to say before time, then, or something?
Very nearly.
Well, I know.
But
well,
we grew up with you. That's why it's so exciting to have you here in the flesh, in the studio. I can't believe we have Basil Brush.
Well, the funny thing
here
is,
with us.
you know, I sort of started in 1963 on the David Nixon show, and a lady called Anita Harris was on it.
Oh, yes.
And would you believe, I'm currently in pantomime at the Theatre Royal Windsor with the very same Anita Harris.
Wow.
It's amazing. And then I'm meeting children coming in with others and their parents saying, I grew up with you, and their parents grew up with you. And last year I was at Glastonbury and all these 20-year-olds were saying, I grew up with you.
So, Basil, what is the secret? How do you keep yourself looking so young and fit and
looking
healthy?
so young.
Do you work out?
Well, anybody who thinks I've had a facelift are talking out the Botox. Boom, boom! And I do work out every day. I just sit there and work out what I'm going to have for me breakfast. And I've seen what you've got in your Sky Canteen, and it's fantastic.
Can I be really personal? Just because, you know, I'm actually a big cat lover. I've got my cat. No.
I know.
But
You're upsetting me now.
He really likes it if I do that behind his.
Oh!
Well,
is that?
Oh, actually, that's rather nice.
The stars of the hotly anticipated Mary Poppins Returns have graced the blue carpet at Royal Albert Hall for the film's European premiere. Topping off a practically perfect night, Emily Blunt's been nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award for the titular role. Also appearing is Hamilton's star Lin-Manuel Miranda, who plays a Cockney lamplighter.
That's why I live and breathe.
Mary.
Poppins, you came back.
You seem hardly to have aged at all.
Really? One never discusses a woman's age, Michael. Would have hoped I taught you better.
Jack, the lamplighter, is someone full of childhood innocence and wonder. Hamilton has none of that. So I'm really grateful he saw me for this role.
And is it right that you and your family relocated to London for this film? And tell me, did that help you nail the Cockney accent?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny. I spent this summer in Cardiff working on a new series for the BBC, and I have a Texas accent in that it is harder to hold on to a Texas accent in Cardiff than a London accent in London. So it was a joy.
But you first began your writing career because you said there were literally like 2 Puerto Rican roles in musicals. That was it. That was it. Period.
Yeah, it's Bernardo and it's Paul in a chorus line, and so I sort of started creating my own opportunities. So then to be offered a role of this caliber with this creative team feels like the fruit of all that hard work.
And you've made it happen. It's amazing. Are you looking forward to showing your 2 boys this work?
Yeah, they're going to see it this weekend when I get back home to New York, and you know, my son has seen me dance with penguins and climb buildings, but all on set, so I can't wait to put it all together for him finally.
How'd you do that?
Do what?
I think that every movie you make, once you're a mother, you think, how is this going to impact the world? Every movie I make, I think about that. And this one is a gift at a needful time, a gift of remembering where the seeds of joy come from. They come from human possibility and imagination, even in dark times.
So you've been off filling the children's heads with stuff and nonsense.
You've forgotten what it's like to be a child.
It's really wonderful and a privilege and special, and I can't really believe it, because when I was a child I loved that first film so much. You never think that you'll be involved in, you'll actually get to be in the world that as a child your imagination just loved being in.
Everything is possible. Even the impossible. Off we go.
I think it's part of everybody's childhood. It was something that we watched every Christmas. It was always on the television, that and The Great Escape were the 2 films that were sort of rotated at Christmas time when I was little. So there was never a time when I didn't know Mary Poppins and didn't love it and have it as part of my DNA, really.